There's the photos of them when the house is just being like, they're putting the sheathing on and standing there with Marcy pregnant with Cynthia, Joe's father, and then Joe's mother's father. So his maternal grandfather, Grampy Smith, hanging out there at the house. Not a single tree in the neighborhood. It was a field for the farmers' cows and horses.
It's kind of crazy. The same, maple tree that I look back on in the photos as like this little twig when you were born is something Ben and I were climbing, 30, 40 feet into.
Well, yeah, they were very interested in collecting antiques and early American furniture and different things. So we had areas of the house that were sort of like the romper room, and areas of the house were like, okay, don't romper in there.
Less on the sort of value and more purely on the sort of passion side. There was like a gazillion little trinkets. I mean, it was kind of like living in an antique store at times where, Grammy would pull down a box.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah, Grammy would pull down a box of her antiques or, let us rifle through certain things or let us look at her jewelry box. Or
started pressing down and heard this sound and looked down, and I had shards of glass like under my skin up into my wrist. And I'm like, ah. So I like pulled these shards out. Blood was sort of being blood, and lifted my hand up, and blood started kind of spritzing around onto the porch. I didn't know what to do. I forgot about Heather in the house. Mom was down at the Victory Market. And so I zipped out the front yard, was looking around, and down the street 3 houses was Mrs. Bonvin, who was out to get her mail. She was a registered nurse. She looks up and sees like Caligula boy with, blood spurting, and immediately goes into nurse mode, comes running up, had like a dish towel that she had like over her shoulder to go grab the mail. And she wrapped my arm, lifted it up, and all of that. Meanwhile, she took me to her house to put ice on it and like call the doctor. And Marcy came home, and all she saw was the broken terrarium, a chair knocked over, a bunch of blood spritzing all over the floor of the breezeway. And she thought I'd been abducted, and I put up an incredible fight while the kidnappers hauled me away. So I got like 12 stitches. It just missed my artery, and I lived to tell the tale.
There's 2 sort of immense ones, one in the family room and one in the living room. And I have a lot of memories of playing on the one in the family room with our blocks and toys and, everything. And then the one in the living room, I really remember as an excellent place to take a nap where, you get the fire going. And I think I'd be hard pressed to think of a cozier place than taking a nap on the Oriental rug in front of the fire there.
We'd be out there, me and Cynthia, in like little leather boots and little mini wooden skis, or sleds, tromping around, like while big fat snowflakes like that big were coming down, and Marcy would come out with cocoa and, all the cool stuff.
How much work Grammy put into the garden there, which is really lovely. Yeah. And, it's she's got a beautiful sort of extensive flower and herb garden that, goes down to this beautiful sort of depressed octagonal, brick walkway with this, ringed by little benches and this beautiful little blue ceramic glazed orb in the center on a little pedestal, wrought iron pedestal. There's lots of little systems in place. So, you'll open the
laundry chute from the master down to the laundry room.
Or even outside of something like that, like you go and open a cabinet and there'll be a note from Grammy about what objects are contained within this box, who should move it, to give her, certain objects that are only to be moved by Marcy, given their delicate or, precious nature and stuff like that. It's a very cozy place as well. Like, I think it's a place that...
Well, a lot of places are houses, but this has always been a home. And there's a big difference between those two things.
Outside of the stuff in the house, what really made it special to me were the people. And if I look back on my childhood and my life and my memories, like 9 out of 10 fond childhood memories were in that house, but 9 out of 10 fond childhood memories were with my parents and my siblings and my grandparents especially. So I'm always very thankful for that house, less as a place and more as a container for the people who live there.